Hello and good evening to you. Welcome to News360 and it's live news up here at Adesawe in Kanda. My name is Alfred Okansi.
And I'm Natalie Fort. A look at the top stories this evening.
News360 Headlines is brought to you by Deluxe Paid.
Investigative documentary by Anas Arimeyao Anas on Galamsey as public officials entrusted to fight the menace are caught taking bribe. That's coming up tonight at 10:15.
CID invites NDC chairman Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo to assist in investigations for comments deemed to threaten the peace of the country.
Meanwhile, NDC fights back and accuses government of a desperate attempt to divert attention in the face of a damning expose by Anas Arimeyao Anas on Galamsey.
And in business tonight, new power distribution company PDS takes over ECG as electricity service provider.
Elsewhere in the world, U.S. President Donald Trump's former lawyer Michael Cohen says Donald Trump knew beforehand about a leak of hacked Democratic emails. Details of these and much more coming to you live here on News360. You could watch this bulletin on Facebook, on TV3 Ghana, as well as DSTV channel 279.
So to our first story this evening, after almost 2 years of the fight against illegal mining, public officials emerge in the investigative piece to circumvent laid down processes to be given clearance for mining operations. Now, we'll now bring you a trailer of the investigative piece by Anas Arimeyao Anas.
Accra Monday, Tuesday.
Okay.
But Wednesday, I have to come back to Kumasi. They may ask for say the IE no the what we are agreeing. Let's in through. He may make DNA with you there can you so.
Because we have to make sure you fast track the PR.
Yeah.
So that's the trailer of that Galamsey fraud expose by Anas Arimeyao Anas. We will be airing the full video, the part one of it, at 10:15 p.m. later today. So stay with us as we engage some of the stakeholders to better understand what is captured in that investigative piece. So make a date, it's 10:15 p.m. tonight.
Absolutely, Alfred. Now, the Criminal Investigation Department of the Ghana Police Service has invited the national chairman of the opposition NDC, Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo, to assist in investigation. Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo's invitation is in respect of a leaked audio circulating on both social and traditional media, in which he is alleged to have made comments that have security implications for the nation. According to the invitation from the police CID, Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo is requested to report to the CID headquarters on Thursday, February 28.
A new patriotic party has called for the resignation of the national chairman of the NDC, Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo, for comments he is alleged to have made in a leaked audio. Addressing the media in Accra, the communications director, Yabo Abena-Samoa, said the comments of Ofosu-Ampofo is an indication that the NDC is arming its members to turn the party into a terrorist group.
They're weaponizing their political party and to put it on a path, literally to becoming an internal terrorist organization.
Yabo Abena-Samoa said before Ofosu-Ampofo resigns, he must apologize to the NDC and the entire country for what he described as unfortunate comments to instigate NDC party supporters against well-meaning Ghanaians. These include the president, Nana Akufo-Addo, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Jean Mensah, and the chairman of the National Peace Council, Reverend Professor Manuel Asante.
What has happened is bad and ugly. Right-thinking members of the NDC ought to move fast and distance themselves from this shameful leadership. Those in the NDC who believe in an ideology must rise and demand resignations. All those culpable must account to the NDC first and to the nation.
He stressed if nothing is done about the plans of the NDC, there cannot be peace in the country.
Until we get to the bottom of this matter, this nation is not stable. Until we get to the bottom of this matter, this nation is not safe. Until we get to the bottom of this matter, Ofosu Ampofo and his ilk, including Mahama, don't intend to allow peace to reign in our country.
He said former President John Mahama wants to lead an extremist group to be president, and the NPP, with its responsible leadership, will continue to put the right policies in place to keep John Mahama away from the seat of government.
Why this greedy and violent lust for power at all cost? Why sacrifice the nation's honor and dignity for political power? This greedy lust for power can only be to create, loot, and share the resources of this dear country of ours.
Former President Mahama, he said, might have known the plans of the party to cause insecurity in the country, compelling him to make the boot-for-boot comments. In a leaked audio, which is allegedly the voice of the chairman of the NDC, Samuel Ofosu Ampofo, is heard talking about plans the party will adopt against some individuals and explaining exactly what transpired in the Ayawaso West Wuogon by-election.
On this issue, as the National Democratic Congress NDC says that the government is desperate in the face of a damning expose by Anas Ermiao Anas and is shifting attention of the public with a doctored audio of its party chairman. The party, in a media release, said the said investigative piece to be released by Anas has key government officials caught on camera receiving bribes to compromise the Nana Addo-led campaign against illegal mining. The party denied the contents of the leaked tape and said the matters discussed in the said meeting are public knowledge and needed no secret meeting to discuss. The party says the said tape is concocted, false and inconsistent with the character and track record of the chairman of the party, Ofosu Ampofo. Part of the NDC statement signed by the party's Secretary General, Sami Jemfi, says, and I quote, despite compelling evidence of state complicity in the recent state-sponsored violence at the Ayawaso West Wuogon by-election, the NPP is hell-bent on political equalization.
Let's stay a bit further on this particular issue, which is claiming a lot of political discussions. Now, Adam Bonner is a security analyst. He joins me via Skype. Now, Mr. Bonner, thank you for your time this evening. Now, what's the scope and considerations in investigating such matters, now that we know the police CID has extended an invitation to Samuel Ofosu Ampofo?
Yes, good evening to your viewers. I am happy the police have invited Samuel Ofosu Ampofo, but I want to believe that the police should have also invited one Kweku Boahin or so, because I have listened to a tape which I think he spoke to a media house this morning, allegedly confirming that the NDC party chairman, in fact, uttered those statements in the leaked tape. And so the police would have to invite him because then, according to the Kweku Boahin, he was there when those statements were made. And so they need to invite him. But the police, I believe, would have to be looking at whether interrogating, the NDC party chairman, whether he made this statement. And if they have to do it manually, it will be difficult to, be able to substantiate whether, in fact, it is his voice. And so probably they might need some expertise here and there, some systems, some softwares, to be able to tell whether, in fact, it is his voice. Because, one thing we need to be careful of has to do with the fact that the voice could be my voice, but the person talking might not be me. And these are two different things. I mean, I'm the only person who would have to talk like me, behave like me, and do other things. And so if we are not very careful, we will jump into conclusion that it is same, but we'll need, systems, technology to be able to, forensic voice analyzers to be able to tell whether this is consistent with him or it is not. Because the voice could be him, but then the person who spoke might not be him. And so these are things that they would need some amount of expertise to do that. I believe they should have it. The police should have that expertise.
Well, I was coming to that. If the police does have that expertise, as far as you do know, and with your work with them, because it's interesting you make the point, because the NDC has already made that particular description in the statement that this particular voice is doctored and it is concocted to divert attention. So that bit of the doctored tape is already coming there. So in the police going into this, do they have, from what you do know, the expertise, the software, the systems to authenticate whether or not it is indeed Samuel Ofosu Ampoffo's voice and the person?
I want to believe that the police should have it. If they don't have it, this is a very serious, discussion that actually took place, purported to have been uttered by the NDC chairman. If they don't have it, I think they should seek support. They should look for support, in unraveling who uttered the statement. It shouldn't just be left like that. I think that they need to go deep down. I mean, the expertise is there. They would, if they don't have, readily available systems to do that, they can always call for support and get it done, so that we know whether this statement were uttered by the chairman.
Well, Mr. Boda, I asked this question on the premise that, I'm looking at precedents. There's been a number of leaked tapes that is adduced as evidence in issues like this or something similar to a secret recording. It just dies down. Nobody really hears anything over time because the person who is said to be the owner of the said voice of a secret tape describes it as doctored and it's left there. So how different will this be? And I'm asking this question based on precedents in mind.
No, these are two different things we are talking about. This has to do with this country's security. This has to do with national security, the security of the republic of the country. It's different from some party faithfuls doing the normal gossip and somebody recording it and it doesn't end anywhere. This has to do with, you talk about kidnapping in the tape, you talk about, a lot of things that to me, should not be made by even ordinary persons like us. Not, let alone a party chairman, the largest opposition party chairman. And so these are different things. You are talking about the security of this country. If you listen to the tape, anyone who listens to the tape, you can't by just end up saying that if these things were uttered by the chairman, then it is serious. And it's the reason why I believe the police, I'm happy. From morning, some of us have been calling that the police would have to interrogate Fed. I'm happy they have invited him,
right,
so that at least we get to know, whether he did utter them. The police will tell us if he did or he didn't.
I'm extremely grateful for your time this evening, Adam Boda. Adam Boda is a security analyst. So we'll stay a bit further on this in our subsequent bulletins, getting some analysis on this particular issue.
Let's turn to Parliament now, as debate on the President's State of the Nation address continued, with the minority side punching holes into it. The majority side, on the other hand, continued to defend and tout the President's address.
Every drop of oil in this country has come about as a result of first MPP administration and then second MPP administration. We must take credit for it, and they must look into the mirror and bow down their collective heads in collective shame. Mr. Speaker, it is this arcade that in the end has done what Mr. Speaker would call drilling of appraisal wells. It's done appraisal wells following the grant of the block to them, Mr. Speaker, in 2006, which indeed has brought about this additional, indeed it's an additional discovery that they have made in the block.
Since 2017, the power sector agencies such as GRIDCO, NETCO, ECG has been in serious distress. Mr. Speaker, GRIDCO in 2016, under President Mahama, made a profit of 69 million Ghana cedis. In 2017, made a loss of 31. In 2018, made a loss of 118. All other things being equal, per their projections, in 2019, they are expected to make a loss of 346.95 million Ghana cedis. Their liquidity ratio is 0.92 to 1. That means if you take their current assets, it cannot meet their current liabilities. And as a result, a loan from AFD, $163 million, has been suspended.
Mr. Speaker, I'm excited to inform the House that the double-track infrastructure development plan is on track through Get Fund securitization. This House actually approved a $1.5 billion infrastructure plan, and we have begun the process of ensuring that every senior high school that is on double track are going to get the needed facilities so that when the students move on from Form 1 to Form 2, they will not have to be divided.
And the Ministry of Education must rethink or relook at the curriculum as it is now to be presented or rolled out in September. It will be a very serious omission on the part of the Ministry of Education and, for that matter, government, to remove RME from our curriculum.
A Deputy Minister of Education in charge of basic and second cycle, Dr. Yao Educhum, has denied claims that the basic education level would soon be privatized and commercialized. According to the minister, even though the World Bank is to support government to revamp public schools across the country, there is no intention to hand over the schools to private individuals to manage. He spoke to Evelyn Tema.
On Tuesday, 4 teacher unions at a news conference raised concerns about government's intention to privatize and commercialize basic education, which comprises primary to the junior high school level. The teacher unions, NAT, NAGRAT, CCT Ghana and TEWU indicated majority of their members would be laid off if the policy is rolled out. They also accused government of not engaging them on the policy expected to be implemented in September. But Deputy Minister in charge of Basic and Second Cycle, Dr. Yao Educhum, denied the claim of privatization and commercialization.
We are not commercializing anything. And in fact, we are extending an invitation to them to go and meet with them and to let them know that we are looking at options that will help improve learning outcomes in this country. We are not looking for profit, private individuals to come in to make money from public space, no.
He also debunked claims that the World Bank has committed some $150 million to support the project. Dr. Yao Educhum explained that the World Bank wants to help revamp the public education system at the basic level, but discussions are at the initial stage.
We talk about structures, facilities that we are building now. We have just completed 70 KG schools across the country. We are building junior high schools and primary schools across the country. But more especially, we're talking about the curricular reform. What students need to know and do, which is embedded in the curricula, is what we are taking a look at this point. And it will come with a national assessment and massive teacher training.
According to the Deputy Minister, the move by government is to ensure accountability because the basic level of education is losing confidence of the populace.
I don't believe that when you run a school and all students are failing their BEC exam, you should continue to run the school. If you are the head teacher and you preside over a school where every student is failing and they can't move on to high school, you shouldn't continue to just be the head teacher. There should be some accountability element. If you run a district and majority of your schools are not doing well, you shouldn't continue to be a district director. So we believe that there should be serious accountability. All of us should hold ourselves accountable. And that accountability should go from all the way from the headquarters to the classroom level. And that is why we are talking about curricular reform with a national assessment. And that national assessment is what is going to help us know that this primary school is not doing. Otherwise, you can't even know if the primary school is doing well or not because they don't have any national assessment.
He said there would be a national assessment to ensure a strong foundation, adding the teacher unions, parents and other stakeholders would be engaged. Dr. Educhum was emphatic. After the revamping of the schools, education at that level would still be free. He reiterated government was reviewing the school's curricula but debunked claims that the moral education subject would be taken off.
Let's turn to the health sector now, as the Health Services Workers Union has served notice of a nationwide strike if the Controller and Accountant General's Department fails to improve data for the calculation of pensions for prospective retirees from next year. General Secretary of the union, Reynold Ofosu Tenkran, interacted exclusively with our correspondent, Daniel Opoku in Accra.
The Health Services Workers Union took the decision after its National Executive Council meeting in Accra. In the meeting, members were agitated that the Controller and Accountant General's Department failed to provide data of pension contributors. They again explained the lack of data from Controller could affect calculations of contributions for pensioners who may retire from next year. This is the second time the union has complained about the lack of data and has asked Controller to release the data or risk their wrath.
Pension is about 90% data. So if in case somebody retires from 2020, how would the person's tier 2 be calculated? You need the contributions made by the employee so that you can determine how much the employee is entitled to. Now it's not available. And now this tier 2 will start from January 2020. So my members are worried.
The union again was concerned about the non-implementation of its collective bargaining agreement, CBA, which was signed in 2015.
Few health facilities are implementing it, but it should have been the whole country implementing it. Something like some of them will be entitled to transfer grants, overtime, and so on. They are not being paid.
It also kicked against an insurance deduction from their salary by the Ghana Health Service, purported to be used to finance healthcare of members. The union has again asked the Ministry of Health to implement the Ghana Association Lab policy, which seeks to give total control of all public hospital laboratories in the hands of lab technicians. The Health Services Workers Union is asking government to also offer permanent employment to its members in some of the public hospitals.
All those who are on IGF should be made permanent. This will even free the hospitals from spending so much on their staff. The hospital needs their services. So why should you classify them as IGF staff and another one as government employees?
So you were saying that the salary they receive is woefully inadequate. Do you have any ideas of how much they receive, some of them?
It is dependent on the hospital. It depends on the hospital funds. If they have funds, then sometimes they pay them in line with the law. That is the minimum wage. But we have evidence that some are paid below the minimum wage.
It has served notice of massive nationwide strike if government delays.
Let's take our MTN video report from our citizen journalist for tonight.
And this is an electricity pole, and the bottom of the pole is bent. You can see how it is, and it's connecting to various poles to the various homes. And I think authorities have to check on this or change the pole. Yeah, I'm reporting from Aplaku Hills.
You can also join Yao Dako from Aplaku Hills and let us know what's happening in your community development oriented now to 055 1433044. That's the WhatsApp number we're using.
Stay with us here on News 360 for the latest of news from the world of business. Coming up with Parkus Yasari shortly.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the Business News segment on News 360. My name is Parkus Yasari. Thanks very much for your time. Let's begin with the President, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who has assured the public that government is working on addressing the depreciation of the local currency to improve the business climate. Well, speaking at the commissioning of a ceramic tile factory at Pone Katamanso, the President said government is determined to bring about structural changes in the business sector to improve the economy.
Aware of the anxiety there is in business circles and through the population about the recent depreciation of the cedi. I am extremely upset and anxious about it too. But I want to assure you that all efforts are being made to arrest the decline and restore the cedi to stability in order to improve the competitiveness of Ghanaian industry. And I think very soon you will be seeing the results of our policy.
Meanwhile, Deputy Finance Minister Kweku Kwarteng has dispelled speculations that the current depreciation of the local currency being witnessed against the dollar has reached an alarming stage. Financial analyst Joe Jackson believes the structural change of Ghana's economy will address the perennial fall of the cedi in the long term.
The fall of the cedi against major trading currencies, especially the dollar, has nothing to do with Ghana's economic fundamentals. As according to the Bank of Ghana, there's been widespread concern amongst the general public and the business community about the recent depreciation of the cedi and its impact on livelihoods. Despite the sharp decline, Deputy Finance Minister Kweku Kwarteng insists it's not a strange situation, suggesting that Ghana has over the years experienced such declines at the start of the year when foreign investors are repatriating their profits and capital. But financial analyst Joe Jackson says the structure of the economy will expose a true state of the economy.
If you want to stabilize the cedi, you've got to export more. You've got to give an incentive for people to export. We've seen this done before in this country, right? Where people who export get a tax break. Impediments are removed. And generally the environment is made better for them. Also, let the cedi fall to its natural value. Then lock it there and improve the environment so that we will export more.
The cedi started the year at about 4 cedis 90 pesos against the dollar, but has since dropped to 5 cedis 35 pesos to the dollar.
Away from the woes of the local currency, a new power distribution company, PDS, has officially taken over from ECG as the electricity service provider after missing the February 1 deadline. The takeover takes effect from Friday, the 1st of March 2019.
The handing over ceremony is to make official the partnership between the ECG and the new concessionaire, PDS. The takeover will mark the beginning of the 20-year project of transforming the power distribution sector.
Completing the compact will enhance the everyday lives of ordinary Ghanaians by improving the supply of reliable power. Completing the compact will power Ghana for accelerated and sustainable economic growth. Completing the compact will increase private sector investment and productivity through reliable and stable power.
The power distribution company is expected to invest $580 million into the company within the first 5 years of operation.
The ECG Financial and Operational Turnaround Project is intended to further ensure poverty reduction through economic growth and improve the reliability and quality of power in ECG's operations. It is estimated that in the long term, 7.6 million Ghanaians will be beneficiaries of the ECG financial and operational turnaround.
Chairperson of ECG, Kelly Gajekpo, also speaking at the ceremony, said a lot of work has gone into the process, emphasizing ECG will continue to exist.
This ceremony, which marks the beginning of the handing over process, will include various activities relating to transferring of employees, electrical networks, infrastructure, business and financial processes, administrative procedures, policies, ICT systems, and a host of related activities.
This means that PDS has been handed license to distribute and sell power. ECG, on the other hand, has an electricity brokerage license as well as an export license in order to be able to export power to neighboring Togo.
It is a fact that the private sector participation activity of the Power Compact program has begun the fulcrum around which the rest of the Power Compact projects revolve. If we are transferring the operations of ECG to PDS today, we can be excited about significant investment that will come to the power sector. According to the concession agreement, PDS will invest about 580 million US dollars over a 5-year period.
The United States will continue to fund the project through the Millennium Challenge Cooperation, an agreement which was reached on the sidelines of the U.S.-Africa Leaders Summit in Washington, D.C. on August 5, 2014.
However, one major hurdle that PDS will have to overcome is how to clear all the debts owed ECG by the government through its state agencies and departments. This is according to the Chief Executive Officer of the Consumer Protection Agency, Kofi Kapito. Now, speaking at the handing over ceremony between the ECG and PDS, he warned the new concessionaire must be aggressive in order to survive.
If they are not careful, going to some places known as no-go areas will be a challenge. I don't want to mention specific areas in Accra or in Kumasi, but with the introduction of prepaid meters, even the places that are that challenging for them to go, if they can go and fit prepaid meters for them to collect their money in advance, I think it will help them. If not, they will face the same challenge as ECG, because ECG's biggest problem was ability to collect all its revenue.
He has meanwhile said that it will be too early to mount pressure on PLC to increase power tariffs, considering the fact that PDS is yet to begin work.
When the person hasn't taken over and they start asking for an increment, it's worrisome to me. My wish is come into the field, and then maybe if you see some challenges, then you can come and say, based on the challenges, I expect you to increase. I agree with PURC 100% when they said they will not allow them to increase until further discussions. People are talking about all the utilities. The thing is, the utilities for Ghana, if we say we cannot pay, we cannot pay.
But Energy Minister John Peter Mewu assures there won't be any reason to increase tariffs.
If for some reason PDS, which we expect to come in and address some of this concern, will be repeating some of these challenges, or will leave some of these challenges unaddressed, then I don't see the rationale for us gathering here. The Ghanaians will therefore be given the opportunity to do it. If the losses will remain 25%, the power theft will continue to increase. The technical drive to change equipment will remain unchanged. Then it's better we take over our equipment and run it at the same level.
That's all for the business news segment on News 360. Thanks very much for watching. For more business news stories, you can log on to our website, 3news.com.
Hello and welcome to Sports on News 360. My name is Michael Oti Ajay. Let's get straight into the stories then. And our first story relates to the Normalization Committee and its chairman, Dr. Kofi Amwa, who insists he won't quit his post in reaction to reports that he intends to resign. The reports had suggested Dr. Amwa will leave the job in advance of the March 31st deadline for the committee by FIFA, but he has flatly denied that. Dr. Amwa says those reports are fabrications and is adamant throwing in the towel now will merely derail the job of normalizing Ghana football. The businessman has faced major objection in his bid to normalize the sport in the country, mainly from Ghanaian league clubs who oppose his plans for a special competition to resurrect competitive football. But he says he has no regrets about pushing through with the idea and the plans. Amwa's term, alongside the rest of the members of the Normalization Committee, is due to end on March 31st. And basketball in Africa is set for a major facelift after the NBA proposed a league for African countries. The decision is to set up a professional basketball league in Africa that will feature 12 teams from several countries across the continent. Ghana is not involved, but as Nana Kweku Anderson reports, there are a number of Ghanaian young players who are hoping eventually it will be their turn.
The league, which commences in 2020, will include teams from several African countries, including Angola, Egypt, Kenya, Morocco, Nigeria, Rwanda, Senegal, South Africa, and Tunisia. There was no place for Ghana when the names of the countries included in the league were mentioned, due to the relative unpopularity of the sport in the country. However, Ghana could be included in the coming years if the modalities of the sport grows significantly. Ghana's legacy in the NBA is threadbare, with Ben Bentil being one of the only Ghanaians to have been drafted in by a team in the NBA. The future, however, is bright as many more talents are pushing to reach the top. It might be a long road for Ghana to enter the league, but Frederick Asante, who plays his basketball for the Accra Technical University, believes with time, Ghana will make it to the league.
Actually, when I heard of it, I thought it was going to be great for us but unfortunately, I didn't see Ghana in the list, and it really pained me because we are trying all we could here, but then it's like we are not recognized nationwide. But we hope for the best. Our human beings, trust me, we have better basketball players in the country. Just that because we are not recognized internationally, they don't know what we can do. I believe that Ghana can do. Forget Nigeria, they are all countries, they are all human beings like us. The work they put in, we put in the same work in here. So why can't we do it? We can also do it.
Coach of the Accra Technical University, Jeffrey Jimate, believes Ghana has enough talent, but there's still a lot to be done to catch up with the selected countries for the league.
We are supposed to benefit because we are also an African country, but our disadvantage and the things that we lack maybe couldn't merit us to join the competition, because I think all other countries that were selected are high, are high in basketball. I mean, with their infrastructure, their system is higher than ours. Our league, their league is also high, is highly recognized. So I think it's difficult for us to break in. If we put our structures in place, our systems in place, I think we can match them. I mean, with the talent we are there. It's a big thing, and we need to brand ourselves well too. So when they come, they will come and feed into our league. They see what they can get, and then when it's good, they help us do it. So I think Ghana has to change a whole lot of things. And then the association also has to do better in the way they put their system in place. And then the government has to also come in. Highly, they have to come in, because it's a national thing. If they put up a national gym, it will help. It will serve a bigger purpose, not only for basketball, but probably other indoor games as well.
That report was by Nana Kweku Anderson. In the English Premier League, Kolo Toure has become the highest level African technical person in the league after he was appointed first team coach at Leicester City. The former Ivory Coast captain has been confirmed as first team coach at Leicester by new manager Brendan Rodgers, who he worked with at Celtic in the same role. Toure, who won over 100 caps for the Ivory Coast, has won 2 Premier League titles with Arsenal and Man City. He also won the Africa Cup of Nations in 2015. Remember, he scored in the penalty shootout win over Ghana. And that painful loss. Last year, he worked as part of the national team's coaching staff at the World Cup in Russia. Wish him all the best. It's a big, big step for any African player. And tonight, the English Premier League will take center stage once again. There are a number of games happening tonight, but the focus will be on the race for the title. And 3 games to keep an eye on. Manchester City are playing against West Ham United at home. Former manager Manuel Pellegrini takes his West Ham side there. City are a point behind Liverpool, who play at home to inform Watford. And Tottenham Hotspur, who are 6 points behind the leaders and 5 behind City, are themselves hoping that they can do well with a win over Tottenham at Chelsea. Chelsea, remember, have been in all sorts of in the news for all sorts of reasons, but their manager has already dropped Kepa Arrizabalaga in his squad for the game against Spurs. And tonight, another game to keep an eye on is the El Clasico. The first leg, the El Clasico in the Copa del Rey. The first leg ended 1-1. The return leg due in Madrid tonight. Barcelona are starting Lionel Messi. They need to at least get a higher scoring draw in order to go through to the next stage. That's all the sports from our News 360. We'll continue shortly.
So tonight we start entertainment news from social media. It gets exciting almost every time there's a viral video. Some receives backlashes whilst others are embraced as fun. So what's the latest fun that's hit social media? Let's find out.
Social media keeps buzzing with new viral trends that bring people to partake in the joyful challenge. While there were some like the deadly #OneCorner that got people criticizing it, others like the Amanas challenge, #the Kitchen Stool challenge, Azugu Max challenge, and the #10-year challenge has been a source of stress release and grip to social media users. The latest is the resurrection challenge, where people pretend to have been resurrected from death. This challenge seems to be mockingly mimicking the miraculous powers of a South African-based pastor, Alf Lukau, who claims to have resurrected a man from the dead.
Man of peace is commanding life. Rise up! Yes! Come on!
The self-acclaimed queen of GH, Efyashua Snega, and other internet users took up the challenge as they recorded various resurrection challenges.
Mother Bashi, the man of God is at work. Mother Bashi, rising up, rising. Hallelujah, hallelujah. God is.
You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas.
This video has sparked some biblical controversies online, and the question is it real?
Raise me up so I can stand on mountains.
Interesting. Now, for the third time running, Ghanaian saxophonist Steve Betty will share the Stanbic Bank Jazz Festival stage. The instrumentalist will perform alongside global music icons like UB40, Malin legend Salif Keita, and Grammy Award-winning bassist Richard Bona. Steve Betty sees the opportunity with the superstars as a dream come true.
Global music icon Salif Keita, Richard Bona, and English band UB40 will be in Ghana to headline this year's Stanbic Jazz Festival. Celebrated saxophonist Steve Beatty is expected to bring the Ghanaian vibe to the February 28th show. The award-winning jazz artist will be marking a hat-trick at the show.
Hat-trick for you, and how does it feel?
Well, it feels really good. The first and the second was good. You know, the first, in the likes of Bob James, Gerald Albright, Richard Bona, and other people. But this time it's a whole different game. UB40, in fact, it really feels good. For me, it's more of like a boiling water for me. I can't just wait for the D-Day,
It certainly will be a great musical experience for jazz enthusiasts. To Steve Beatty, sharing the stage with the music legends is a dream come true.
I know you're a legend in your own right, and certainly being on the same platform with these top stars comes with a lot of opportunities, collaborative opportunities, the fact that you can get to work with them and all that. And what's the plan like from your camp?
Well, I've been in talk with Richard Bona, from the last time we met, and it's still ongoing. But these two grades, in addition, UB40 and Salif, I'm just going to try my luck, So I'm going to talk to them one-on-one as legends and, be able to lay down some minds, what I'm saying? Yeah, lay down some things for the future. Because I would love to do something with UB40, and also I would love to do something with Salif Keita, and Richard Bona as well.
He vowed to once again bring his A-game to the 2019 Stanbic Jazz Festival. The much-anticipated jazz festival will take place at the Labadi Beach Resort from February 28th to March 2.
Well, you better go out there and grab a ticket before it runs out. There's more news on 3news.com. I'm Miriam Osei Ajman. Good evening.
Good evening, Miriam. We want to say thank you, as always, for spending 60 minutes with us here on News 360. My name is Alfred Okansi.
And I'm Natalie Fort. For a lot more news, do visit our website, 3news.com. Thank you for watching. Have a lovely evening.